Welcome to January's vlog. Today is the 11th of January. I'm going to be painting up these clay animals I made last night. So I actually made these clay animals for my sister. These are obviously samples. Some of them haven't come out quite right. I think this was pressed too thin, so the rabbit's foot came off. I'll have to experiment a bit more, maybe make them a bit more thicker. And I cut out these shapes using these stencils by Hobby World. These actually belong to my daughter. So I rolled out the clay and then put the stencil on top, and then used a scalpel to cut out the shapes. So I might show how I did this in a future video, because it would be too lengthy to show it here. So because they're so thin, I have filed them down very gently on the edges, because some of them look a bit serrated along the edge. So I'm going to file the rest of them down and then paint them up. So these have already been glazed, but because I didn't have enough epoxy resin left, I decided to just glaze the top of these and not underneath, just to get an idea of how they turn out. So I think I'm not going to use the epoxy resin I'm using currently anymore, and maybe I'll just buy the ready mixed UV resin just to speed up the process, because right now it takes about 6 hours in total for the resin to cure completely. Some of them have come out okay, some of them I did rush a little bit, and so it's resulted in some bubbles. This has come out quite smooth. So I don't know if I mentioned, I actually made these for my sister to give out as rewards for a student event. So I'm just going to make a list of all the ones that she chose, and hopefully I'll start making them today. Nice thing about this resin is that it gives a nice glass-like finish, which I really like, but it takes too long waiting around for 6 hours for the resin to cure. And the main experiment for these was to see if I could get them paper thin, which I did manage to do. So if we compare this to here's one I made earlier, and just to give you an idea of the thickness, that's how they look. And also if we compare the seahorses, I think they're better and more durable when they're made thicker. And this does actually sit nicely on the fridge. So I think this will also look better as a keychain and a magnet. I'm not really willing to experiment. I think they'll just look better as keychains, so I think I'll stick to that. This is actually made with air drying clay, and I actually made this back in September. It's great fun, but it's very time consuming. It's not like using the final oven baked clay. Generally polymer clays are easier to work with because you can bake them and get down to painting them pretty much straight away, whereas with air drying clay you have to wait for it to properly dry. Once they are fully dry, you won't be able to reshape them or remold them, whereas polymer clay, to some extent, you can reheat them and try and reshape them. I actually really did enjoy using air drying clay, and I think when I have more time I will definitely go back and make more of these with air drying clay. I made this at the same time I made this one, turned it into a fridge magnet, and obviously it fell at some point, and the hand broke off. That's something I didn't know would happen. So this is something to bear in mind when working with air drying clay, that even if you do glaze it at the front and back, if it's made too thin and it falls on a hard surface, it can easily break. Whereas with the polymer clay, I don't think it would shatter and break as easily. But still, I think it really does give this feeling of handmade. The paint also sits on more nicely. Whereas the oven-baked clay, they do feel handmade, but I just don't get the same sort of sense of satisfaction when I'm holding them. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that with the oven-baked clay, it feels more of a man-made material, and it sort of gives that feeling of sort of that rubbery feeling. Whereas with the air drying clay, I think the delicacy of it adds to the feeling of being handmade. Hello, it's the next day, and I spent the whole of last night making these, and they've just come out of the oven about probably half an hour ago. So I'm going to have to take them all off now from the greaseproof paper and try and flatten them out, hopefully, so I can start painting them today. And for some reason they start curling up like these ones, so I'm not sure why they curl up, maybe because they're a bit too thin. But anyway, I'm going to try and flatten them out as much as possible, and this is how they've come out. I'm going to save these so I can use them again. It'll just be a waste to throw them away because you can use the other side. That's a fish, and these bits that are stuck on, I'm going to file it down so these will come off. Okay, so these didn't curl up as much. Now I'm going to try and flatten them all down using my Craft Buddy die cut machine. So if we do it directly onto the cutting board, then you can see it picks up all of the marks from previous cuts, which doesn't look very good. It's somewhat flat now. Once I start filing down the edges, it will become more flatter. So here we are after they've all been flattened, and the process is actually much quicker if you use the heat tool before putting it through the die cut machine. So I would actually say off camera this probably took me about 10 to 15 minutes. So that's not too bad. That's probably like what the average duration of a YouTube video, maybe 11.7 minutes. Okay, so the time it takes you to watch a YouTube video, you would have completed about how many? 2, 4, 6. So about 60 clay pieces you can flatten in the time it takes to watch a YouTube video. So that's not too bad. You have to consider this is something that you'll probably be doing in your own time. So this is probably my 3rd or 4th go with the Fimo oven baked clay, and already I've sped up pretty much from my first go, and I'm a lot more confident using them. I'm also trying different things. Before I attempted making it quite thick, and then rolling out the clay was quite difficult, and I started to feel pain on my hands, and then I thought, what's the faster way of me actually kneading this clay without causing permanent damage to my hand? And obviously the first thing that came to my mind were the die cut machine. I'm sure as I carry on I'm going to find better methods to improve. For example, to think this thing, I used just a bit of clay and a stencil and created this. So you have an idea in your head and then you're holding them in your hand. You learn through experimentation, you will make mistakes, and that's how you improve. Every time you make a mistake, every time you forget to add a step, or every time you leave out a step, all of this informs knowledge, and that's how you get better at crafting or whatever it is that you're doing. So usually what I do is I file these down using this hand tool, and there's quite a few here, and I usually just put on a video or listen to a lecture or something, and I just sit there filing away. And my husband obviously saw me doing this and he was like how long is this going to take you? So he bought me a hobby drill, and here it is. I've never used a hobby drill before, so it will be my first time using one. Whoa, looks like a lot of things in here. Oh, okay. It comes with a carry case. Okay, a lot of items here. Wonder which would be the best piece to use. So I actually have no idea how to use some of these things. It's probably one of these. So I just want some soft filing. I don't want anything too heavy-handed. So I'm obviously going to have to be very careful with the drill because the ears are very delicate. I'm going to have to glue this on. Yeah, it's very good actually. Very fast. Got a little bit to do here, but it does give a really nice smooth edge to the clay piece. So this is how they look after they've been filed down using the hobby drill. And some of the ears came off on the rabbits. I think I was a bit heavy-handed with the drill, so I should be able to glue these back on. Also, there was a lot of dust when I was using the hobby drill, so next time obviously I'll have to use it outside because indoors it just creates too much dust. But they've come out quite smooth. So now let's paint these up. I'm not sure what this is because I bought it last week and they've been coming at different times. Sticker sheets. Archival matte paper for inkjet printers. I bought it to experiment with my Epson printer. And these are the fine liner pens I ordered. So I'm going to try and do some art with this as well. And this is the resin I bought to glaze the clay pieces. And hopefully it will speed up the process because there's no mixing involved. So I'll just put this nozzle on and hopefully under the UV lamp this will cure within, I think it said 30 seconds to a minute. I'll have to experiment and see whether it does what it says on the box. I'm going to save this because you can use it to cover your surfaces, so it's worth holding onto these scrap pieces of paper. I picked these up from the pound shop. This is metallic acrylic paint, peacock green, lavender purple. So I haven't tried these before. They looked really nice. I thought because these are going to be keychains, it might look like bright and cheerful. So this is how far I got last night in painting these up. Today I've just been doing a little bit of light cleaning and tidying. Spent about probably 40 minutes or so doing my daily drawing. It's about 1:15 now, so I'm going to stop for lunch now and come back and finish the rest of these off.